Hello, everyone. It's Mal. Welcome back to the Doll Mom Podcast. My name is Mal, and today we have on a amazing guest. I am super duper excited for this episode. Today we're talking with Ashley from Ashley Loves AG. Ashley, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to chat with you today.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Today, we're going to be getting to know Ashley. How did Ashley get into dolls? And then we're going to be talking about her wonderful events. What's it like hosting these doll events and all the details surrounding that. I am super duper excited for this episode, like I mentioned. So without further ado, let's get this episode started with. Ashley, how did you get into dolls?
I got into dolls like most of the other kiddos growing up in the early, 90s. Pleasant Company was a really big deal back then. And I got my first Samantha back in 1993. I can imagine it was either for Christmas or for my birthday. They're both in December. So, yeah, and I loved them. I was also big into Barbies and Polly Pockets. But American Girl specifically, I was obsessed with them.
Oh, I love that.
And I followed by Felicity, who I got a year later, and Felicity was my girl. I loved her so much, and I ended up then getting a Just Like You 15, who was BFFs with my Felicity, and man, they are very, very well loved dolls. I still laugh because at the tail end of kind of like my doll play, I ended up cutting my Felicity's hair into a bob. Yeah, yes. And I ended up like drawing a belly button on her torso. I still to this day like cannot believe I did that because she was one of the kind of earlier Felicities where like she had her eyelashes were still that kind of red color before they changed their eyelashes, and I'm like, her pin curls are gone, she has a bob and she's got a belly button on there. But that's just like a testament to how much like I love them and wanted to play with them, and still to this day I have them. I kept them for as long as I could, and happy to bring them out. Help that I have two daughters who are also excited about dolls. So I would bring them out every once in a while and look at them and just feel that kind of like childhood love for them. And yeah, they're special girls, that's for sure.
I love how you got a 15. Like, oh my goodness. Goals
No,
right there because she's like so hard to find.
she is, and she's a little rough as well. Like she's got a silver eye I'm hoping to fix, and she's a bit like gray kind of. Like she's lost
Okay.
all of her coloring. But I'm hoping to find somebody that can help me, fix her silver eye. I'm just not as talented as some of the other uh, you know, people out there that can really customize and restore these dolls. I'm just not quite there yet. I can do hair, that's about it.
I'm like the
Um,
same way. And
well,
some days
yeah,
I can't even do the hair because it's so like all the different hairstyles kind of complicated for me. Yeah.
100%. I can do straight hair. Like, I can totally restore straight hair dolls. Give me those all day long. And then some of some of the curly hair dolls are a little bit easier. Like Courtney, I did a Courtney restore, and her curls ended up being like pretty successful. But yeah, when it comes to kind of like the big rat's nest mess, that is something I'm just like, all right. I might not be as talented as I want to be for this kind of a hair, but
No, like that is me. Absolutely.
right?
Do you collect any other doll besides AG?
Not anymore, not as like an adult. I do have like my childhood Polly Pockets and some of my Beanie Babies and things like that. And mainly those are all just kind of going to my daughters, and they love to play with them. But yeah, my doll room is mainly just American Girl. Um, but I love how American Girl can kind of have like different types of dolls. So we really love the Welly Wishers here at my house. So we got the smaller dolls, we've got the 18-inch dolls. I love the mini dolls. And I love the dolls. So it's cool that they have like a whole wide variety of different kind of dolls to fit, you know. But we have some new Barbies in the basement, but those are definitely more my kiddos than anything else.
Got you. I remember growing up with Polly Pocket. Polly Pocket.
So excited about the collab that's coming up.
Yes.
That was an immediate add to cart day for me.
Literally same. And like I'm like so excited for September, but at the same time I'm like, "Oh my goodness, why can't I just get my hands on it now cuz I'm just so excited." But
Tell
anyways,
me
it gives me
about it.
something to look forward to.
I know. I got the little people, and that came right away, and I still haven't had the heart to open it up quite yet. But yeah, my kiddos were really excited about those.
Yes, the little people are so cute, and, like, the packaging's so cute.
I
I
know.
I opened mine, and now I'm like, "Why did I do that?" Because of the packaging is just adorable.
It's adorable, and honestly, like, I have a section of my dolls that, are for play for my kiddos, and I don't know if the Polly Pockets will go into that section. I think the Polly Pockets are gonna literally be mine because
Yes.
I don't want any pieces to be lost. Like, these are definitely right up my alley for, like, a good collab, and, like, am I a bad mom for not sharing? No way. They've got plenty.
Okay, this is one question that I always love to ask guests. What's the most unusual or unexpected item in your collection, and what's the story behind it?
Ooh, that is a great question. I don't necessarily have anything too unusual, but I do have a very kind of special doll that kind of kicked off my collecting as an adult. So in November of 2023, I lost my mom. And
Oh, I'm so sorry.
thank you. She was sick, and we knew she was sick, but she was doing really, really well. For a long time. And so when she finally did pass, it was kind of sudden, just how quickly it kind of turned. So after that I was just like this lost kiddo, right? Like without my
Mhm.
mom, and I was trying to find my pathway. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so my kids were getting ready to, get into school full time. And so I'm like, who am I? And my daughter was in preschool, and it was like 2-hour turnaround. So I would drop her off, I'd run errands, and then pick her back up. And there was a once upon a child that is nearby that I would always kind of like pop my head in. And there was a kit who was in her full meat outfit. She was dusty, but looked like she had been just kind of hanging on the shelf for a while. And I was like, oh, I had just gotten kind of out of the doll world as a child, right around when Kit was released. And that's probably why I cut my Felicity's hair to a bob, because I was really into Kit. But I was just like too old, you know, quote unquote, for what, that was. And so I was like, you know what? I've got adult money. I can buy this kit. Like that's gonna fill my cup. And so I bought her, and I brought her home, and she's definitely the older model with the older freckles, and I just she sparked everything for me. Um, and I loved everything about it. So she's kind of like my second wave of special dolls, I guess. I've got my original 3 that, of course, I love and I had as a child, but the kit that I found first time secondhand, and I was like, "You know what? I love that." And then I just kinda kept popping in and finding and thrifting, and all of a sudden, I had all these dolls, and I was like, "This is amazing." Which kind of, like, ties into what I end up doing, later with my events and things like that. Is I had all these dolls, and I wanted to share them and share my love for them. And, I was doing it with my kiddos, but I was like, I gotta do more. And yeah, so she kind of like really sparked everything. My 2000 and what, 1 kid. She's a, she's a cutie. So yeah, she's my kind of my special, uh, entryway doll, I guess.
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness. How did you get into the doll social media world?
So I had no clue that there was even a doll community. Honestly, I had seen a few things like pop up on Pinterest, and I was like, my gosh, look at all this, like these people taking pictures of dolls, and I hadn't really done any sort of like stumbling into AGIG. I was like, I don't know, I just kind of want to start sharing what I have, and then the door completely opened once I, created my username and I posted my first picture, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, there's this whole like world out there of people wanting to do exactly what I was trying to do, and so it was such a great experience learning that I was not the only one that, like, was super kind of, like, getting into dolls as an adult again and kind of, like, reclaiming, this, like, childhood feeling and the whimsy and just needing something to kind of fill my cup in a way that, life kind of wasn't doing for me, to kind of bring
Yeah.
some joy and yeah, it was so fun to see. I have, like, my first, like, 2, people on HEIG that I stumbled upon, and I was like, "My gosh, this is so cool." And, yeah, so I went all in on that. I just loved it, and it was such a fun thing to do each day, to look at other people's photos, to take my own photos, to kinda challenge myself and learning the ropes of, like, style photography and, just finding joy in a way that, like, I didn't and a purpose, I guess. Yeah, so that was really it was a wonderful experience, and to this day, it's a community that I really, really enjoy being a part of, and everybody is just so kind and supportive, and it's nice to connect with people because you don't find that necessarily in your day-to-day real life with other collectors because we're so spread out and
Yeah.
um so it's nice to connect with people on a level of that we all have the same common like love and goal and of loving our dolls and enjoying them, and so that's so nice to have. So the community has been really special for me. It's been a really good like healing path that I've been able to be on.
Yeah. No, I agree, like, there's nothing like the AGIG community, like, everybody's so kind and, like, it can be so hard finding people locally to, like, connect with, but you're never alone when you're connecting with people online, I feel like.
Definitely. You can always find somebody that, like, connects with you on a certain level and maybe, like, the people that sew for their dolls, they have a great connection on sewing for dolls or, people that really enjoy taking pictures. Like, it's just so nice to find these, like, niche other hobbies that we have just in our, like, ATIG community, and, I think there's, like, always someone for someone, there.
Yeah. So now we're gonna be getting into your events, Ashley. For someone who is completely unfamiliar with what you do, how do you explain the doll theme events that you host?
So I like to say that I host curated doll experiences. So essentially, I want to bring this history and imagination to life that's really inspired by American Girl, their stories, their history. And I want to create that in different themes in different ways. So kids are kind of learning without learning, right? Like, they don't think they're learning, but we're kinda, like, sneaking it in there, and, of course, I always like the big themes. Everybody likes a good big theme. Like, I've recently had a Disney party where all the Disney American Girls came with me, and, we had them all on display for the kids. The girls all wore their princess dresses. So I go that's more of, like, a fun party. And then, of course, I go kind of the other side of things where we're really kind of getting right into the stories, more of a book club feel. So, like recently, I did Felicity, and I brought Felicity's carriage and all of her outfits that I had in my collection, and just like the kind of like little pieces for the kids to look up, up close, and from there, like they're not required to read, but it's encouraged that they read the first book, and so we can sit and we can talk about it. I do a presentation normally, And then of course the crafts. There's always a bunch of crafts. For the Disney party, it was fun. We actually created a doll-sized Disney ears from a 3D printer. My brother did it and it was amazing. So we printed all the kids, 3D printed ears that they could decorate at the party. And then, for like Felicity, we made beeswax candles and talked about like how they didn't have electricity back then and why candles are important and what precautions we would want to take as the kiddo living in 1776 or whatever. We made like these little sachet lavender bags, and why somebody like Felicity would have that on their person, tucked into the little pocket. It's because they didn't bathe very much, and they were stinky. So what I like to do is to kind of just sneak in as much of that like history and the importance of that history and why it matters to the kids today and why it mattered back then. And it's so nice to see both girls and boys in my club, learning through a different perspective, a different lens. And I think it helps them appreciate, even though they might not know it, but they are appreciating history in a different way than maybe their normal history books might tell them. So it's just like a little, additive to what their learning experiences is already. And I was like having like those tactile accessories, right? Like Brooklyn had her sewing sampler, and so they were able to see that up close. And then I was able to bring maybe a life size version of something like that. So they're seeing it both doll form and also in human form, right? Like the normal size form. And that's just like something I really enjoy doing. So yeah, it's just like these kind of doll experiences as you would. We don't live too close to an American Girl doll store, so I wanted to be able to create something that I knew I would enjoy as a kid, but like, that I know that they're all enjoying too.
I love that. Oh my goodness. So, what inspired you to start hosting these doll curated experiences?
Like I had mentioned before, I was just, I've been a stay-at-home mom for about 8 years now. I was collecting these secondhand dolls and we started reading the stories at home. And I was like, let's go like see if the library has an American Girl Club because I would like to be a part of it as an adult. So I know my kiddos would have enjoyed it. And I was like, this would be so fun to like do and be a part of. And so I went to my local library and I said, well, do you have a club like this? And she's like, no. And I was like, well, kind of on a whim, I was like, well, can I start one? And the look on her face was so funny. She was like, uh, sure, I guess so. So we started planning. This is about a year ago. And so we started planning. We figured we would do like a kickoff tea party, right? Just like a standard, maybe one-off situation. And um, it was very popular. First and foremost, it was free. That was something that was really important to me. I wanted to make sure that if I was hosting events at the library, that they would be free. I wanted the kids to have access no matter what their resources were. So I brought all the dolls. I have dedicated helpers. Ashley from it's AG Ash Girl 1904 and Alexa from Pleasantly Dolls and Tessa, they are like my dedicated helpers. So between my collection and their collections, we brought all 24 historical dolls,
Oh my
including the best
gosh.
friends. And then, so that was the first go. We had them all lined up on a table. They were all dressed in their meat outfits. And we had this like giant tea party. There was like 25 kids. And it was a blast. Like it sold out, like you had to register, even though it was free, but they had to register for your spot. It sold out so fast that I wasn't even able to register my own kids. And I was on like right at the time that you were supposed to do it. So it turned into a pretty kind of hot commodity to get a spot in. So I was like, okay, let's do a second one. So we did a second one in July of that past like last year. Also, same thing. It was a whole big thing. And so that one, I think we pretty much did the same thing. We had all the meat outfits and we just did like the rinse and repeat of what we had done. It was a big success. And then once I heard that the Wicked dolls were coming out, I said to myself, oh my gosh, well, how much fun would it be to like do a Wicked theme? And the library couldn't host it because it was getting they was getting into school year. They had all kinds of programming already. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just like find a space and rent it out and I don't know, like we could charge for the kiddos. That way I can cover all the costs. And that ended up being a huge hit as well. That one was really fun. We did it in, right the weekend that Wicked 2 came out, and all the kiddos were super excited. They were all dressed up. We had, like, of course, the 2 collector dolls out there. My girls that always help me, Ashley, brought and her sister and her mom all brought their lookalikes, and so we had Anessa Rose, and then we had like a custom Elphaba and another Glinda, and then Fiero. So they brought like a whole line. I had one of my girls in a Dorothy outfit, and we had the big yellow brick road kind of coming into the event space. And we did a dance party, like, we did it was just, like, so much fun. We had a photo booth. I always look out for a, like, special treat, so I always try to find somebody that might have, like, a mobile cake cart or something like that, and so there was a local woman who I love who always tries to come to my events. She brings her Poppy cart, it's called, and the kids can make their own cupcake cups so they can customize it with all different toppings. So I try really hard to kind of like make those tickets worth it, right? Like if they're gonna pay money, I want them to have like a one of a kind experience. Yeah, and they just turned into like a really cool situation. So I still provide free programming for the kids. I do a mixture of parties and events at the library. And then of course I have this like book club that we do. And it's not as often as I would like, but it's often enough that it really like keeps the kids super interested. I have these ticketed events that offset the what I need to do for the library, which is really helpful to kind of have like I have a real purpose for those parties that are ticketed. And it kind of like just bundles right up into what I need then to provide free programming at our library.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Like, I love this so much. Okay. And I was kind of looking on your Instagram too to give like a visual as like I'm following along like your Wicked party, and I'm like, oh my goodness. This looks so much fun and it's so well put together.
Thank you. I didn't know this about myself, but I I've been really enjoying the process of decorating and kind of like really conceptualizing a space to then bring this like magic to it. I want the guests to walk in and just be like, wow, right? Like
Yeah.
the dolls themselves do that in my opinion. I wanted them to feel like they were walking, you know, right into to Oz. So we did the witches hats hanging from the rafters, and I had all the photo booth, which I got Elphaba's broom and her glasses, and then we got the Grimmery book, and then of course Linda had her wand, and we had all these like fun things for the kids to put on, and we had a Polaroid camera, and I do this at every event that I have. We have a Polaroid camera, and each kiddo can take 1 to 2 pictures of them and their doll or them and their friends dressed up, and then they can take that Polaroid and typically what I have is a little magnet sized frame. And so we decorate the frame and so they can take that magnet-sized frame with the Polaroid inside, which is decorated so they can stick it on their refrigerator and kind of have like a memory of what each of these parties are kind of like. And um, I try to customize those crafts, right? Like, so for Wicked, it's like an icebreaker. Of course, always have a coloring sheets, a couple coloring sheets, and then we decorated wands for like there's like hats and the stars and all kinds of different wand things so the kids could decorate that. And then we decorated grimoires. So each of them got like little mini notebooks and we had all kinds of, fun decorations to put on there. And some of the girls glued their Polaroids in there. And my daughter still uses it as like a little notebook that she pulls out to kind of do stuff with. So I try really hard to make it kind of immersive and fun. And that also, of course, like I make unique sparkly drinks that have like shimmer in them and yeah, and of course the make your own cupcakes. We did the dance party, which was a lot of fun. The kids loved that for both Wicked, and then of course we did that for Disney as well. I had these like streamers on like sticks, like with a bunch of ribbon and some bells. We actually used those for my wedding. So now I'm using them for my party. So each of the girls got like little streamers to dance with, and I have a microphone so the girls can kind of sing into the microphone different times. And yeah, and we always do like a intro, like the girls. I say girls because that's typically what we have, but I do have some boys that attend to a lot of my events. But we do an introduction. They get to introduce their doll and themselves, and then we always try to like get an icebreaker question, like who's your favorite princess or a Disney character. I don't remember what we did for Wicked. That way we can kind of like get to know each other on a different level, and they can kind of share their love of their doll and their excitement for that. We've done Valentine's Day. I did a holiday party at the library, which was really successful. We with that we learned about different celebrations around the holiday time. So we talked about Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Christmas, and it was so nice because we had multiple kids that had were celebrating all different types. So they were able to kind of share what their traditions were. So it's like learning on just like just a different level.
Oh my goodness. So walk me through it. How do you decide what events to host or to create?
When I first started the book club, like at the library, I knew that I wanted to kind of do like these introductions, right, to like different types of histories. When I planned that, I wanted to make sure like they could see all of the dolls in person, but I wanted to read like snippets of each of the books throughout the generations. So like I ended up getting the little golden books that went over American Girl like at school or birthdays. And they're like a little cute little 4-pack of like children's books. And so what I ended up doing is reading different pages throughout those little books. So that way the kids could kind of get an introduction of like maybe what it was like to be a girl in school in the 80s or back in 1776. So that way there was like a little tiny bit of education kind of like wrapped into it. So they could kind of leave that kind of like intro party, right? This tea party. Um, knowing and maybe having like, oh wow, that was really interesting to know. If I could like send one little nugget, home with a kiddo like that, that's like a total win for me. So I try really hard, especially with like when we do the more historical styles, that to set kind of really plan around giving them information in a unique and fun way, so they're not realizing too much that they're like learning. And honestly, all the kids are eager to learn, but it's just in a cool way that like they can tie back to like a tactile thing, like this doll or this story. The when I do my themed parties, those are just fun. I mean, everybody loves a good Disney party, a Valentine's Day party. I've got a couple more on my horizon, like the K-pop Demon Hunter dolls are on their, coming soon. So I thought that was a really fun, theme to do. And those are just like kind of like popcorn themes, right? Like they're fun and cool and unique. But I like my bread and butter really. I enjoy doing these like the historic, planning and things like that. So I really try hard. Well, first I have to read the books, right? Like it's been a minute since I've read some of some of the collections, or not at all. By the time I was getting out of dolls and reading those stories, we only have the original, five characters, five, yeah, because Kit was just coming out. So, I mean, there was a lot of those stories that I didn't remember. So the planning is interesting because I have to myself prep myself for the knowledge because these kids are coming in and asking me a specific question about like the story that they read. Like I want to make sure that I can at least try to answer appropriately. And I always like to do like a little mini presentation. So like for instance, when we did Molly McIntyre's first, we did her Christmas story, and we talked about rationing. And so it was really important for me to print out and have them get rationing books. So that way they kind of had an idea of what it was like to maybe have to really pick and choose between, you know, buying groceries or buying a Christmas present or, this and that. So I tried to, we had a whole themed activity around that. So the kids had to like kind of barter and they had their like little rationing stamps and how much can you purchase for this amount and what you have left over. And so they really had to kind of make, kind of like little hard decisions when we were doing that activity. So it was a way of kind of teaching them about rationing without like just, presenting them with that stuff. And then of course we've got Molly there with Emily and all of her trinkets and things like that, and why it was so exciting for Molly to get her nurse doll because of the situations they were in with the war. I try really hard to think when I'm planning a way to get connected with the kids on their level to really kind of drive home the more important parts of the story.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I love that. So, kind of talking about the planning process with the historical character events, you're reading the books, you're kind of doing some research. What do you do the day of the event? Walk me through that loading up your doll process or different things like that.
Well, I would definitely say that the actual day of prepping is probably at least 2 days worth of situation. You should see my like prepping station of my dining room table is just usually a whole big mess. I have these very large totes that fit 16 dolls in each of them. Something crazy. Like it's a huge tote. It has wheels. I drag it. So all of the boxes are already, they're together. They're empty. I bring them all the way up from my basement in this big old tote thing, and I put all the dolls in their boxes. They stand all up. I put the top on. I have two of those big totes. So especially when I bring the historic dolls, they all come with me. So it's 24 in total. And usually, of course, I can't help myself and I bring like Samantha's trunk or something like that. I'm like, the kids will love this. And so I add that to the thing, or even just I did two events back to back. I did the Disney event and then I did Felicity's book club. And so like I had like two planning stations of like, all right, well, here are all the Disney dolls, right? And then of course, I had a wonderful company called One Doll, and they provided Disney princess dresses for all of the guests to take home. So I had all of the dresses that they had sent me on display. So I either had them on a dress form or on a doll. So then I had that. So all those different style dresses. There was about 17 different style of like Disney outfits. So 12 Disney dolls. And then I had 17 other dolls or dress forms that I brought with me that showed the one doll outfit. It's really important for me to be able to really like immerse everybody into the experience, right? And so I get everybody together in their boxes in the big totes, and then from there I have like a set standard. Like I bring all my tablecloths, I bring all of like the table decorations, all of the flowers, all the plates, like everything's already set, ready to go. Usually just like a full reset from the last party. So that makes things a little bit easier. I gotta say, the first couple of times I did this, it took hours, hours and hours. Our Wicked party was like the first, private party, quote unquote, we did. And it took us 8 hours to just decorate and put stuff together.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, and then we had the party, right? Crazy. I think we had started at 9 a.m. decorating, and the party wasn't until 2, so it was a lot. But now we're so much better at it. We can get set up in, like, maybe an hour, probably a little less, and then we can tear down within, like, 45 minutes, which is great. Yeah, so really, honestly, if it wasn't for, like, my husband or my kiddos, I we have to borrow a van because my car is not big enough. So I borrow a van from, my in-laws, and we pack the car up, and I have this giant life-size American Girl doll box that comes with me to all of my events, and it's enormous. Ashley, AG Ash Girl 1904, and her family created it for me. I gave them my idea, and they just put it all together. They made it out of wardrobe boxes and paper, and on their Cricut machine, she stenciled out the words for American Girl, and honestly, it's held up so nicely for the past year. But it's huge. So it fits in, like, one car, and so I dragging that with me around. And so um it takes a lot of strategic planning and packing, let me just tell you. But it's all, like, worth it in the long run. We get there, we set everything up, and it's just like, wow. And seeing those kids' faces when they walk through the door is, like, really what gets me, right? Like, they got stars in their eyes and their mouths are dropping. And even the parents, especially the parents, like the millennial, parents that grew up with Pleasant Company, they get excited too. And a lot of their kids are, introducing their, Samanthas from, the early 90s, just as mine was. And, yeah, I think that's, like, the joy that comes with it all, having it's a lot of work to put into it, but it's, like, well worth it to me because it's just the smiles and the happiness and the joy that it brings. Because that's what it does for me, like, dolls bring me joy and happiness, and it takes me to another place that I can feel safe and happy and kinda get that, like, little spark in my heart.
You kind of touched about this a little bit, but do you have a favorite memory or interaction from one of your events that stand out?
So I do, several, but, one in particular was I was at the library and we were doing the holiday party, and all the girls and, guests were all dressed up in their, holiday best. The energy was so good, and we had all the dolls dressed up in their, their holiday outfits as well. And I brought Belle, and she was in um, her red winter dress that one doll had, and the kids loved that. It was just, like, so magical. And my favorite memory is that I'm watching these girls walk around. They've got the American Girl encyclopedia that they had brought, and they're flipping through the pages as they're looking at each of the historic dolls in their Christmas outfits and or holiday outfits. And I just was like, this is, like, pure girlhood right here. They've got the book, they're looking together, they're all huddled over the book, and then they're looking at the dolls. And I like the excitement on their faces, and then the excitement with each other was just, like, what I'm trying to inspire, right? Like, I could bottle that up and just use it throughout the day as, like, a pick me up. Somebody had taken a picture of that same party, and we had, like, 1990s Kirsten and, like, Samantha, and they're all in their meat dresses, but they look like real rough around the edges because 'cause they're older dolls, and they're on the table. Then they've got the coloring sheets that match, then they've got the crafts all laid out that when we made, like, handmade doll stockings. And it's just, like, it was an overview picture, and it was just everything that, like, I tried to encompass together. And it just made me so happy that I was like, I'm executing this. Like, look at their faces right now. They're so happy and they're excited with each other. There's, like, pure joy. So I hold on to that memory quite often, knowing that, like, what I'm doing is kind of cool and unique, and it gets, the kiddos excited, and that's, like, what I want, right?
Oh, I love that. You kind of touched about this earlier too, but what's something that you hope these kiddos feel or walk away with when they leave one of your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, definitely just, like, circling back on that, I want them to feel like they had just had, like, a magical experience, right? not necessarily magical as like Disney magical. Granted, we did that, but I want them to feel like they experienced something that they couldn't get anywhere else, right? Not that I'm trying to be exclusive, but I want them to have something new, right? That they've experienced that they haven't experienced before. So I always laugh because we talked about having doll size items and then life size items. And for kids book club, we brought in the typewriter, kids typewriter and her desk and all of that. But then we had a life size typewriter that matched the typewriter that Kit had. And so the kids could like tactily write their names in the typewriter, see it on the paper, and then know that like that's how Kit was doing it in the story. Right. So they could kind of channel their inner Kit and their inner reporter, and they could type on the typewriter, and how different that is from typing on an iPad or a phone or even a laptop, because that's what they're experiencing now as, kiddos in this generation. Like the devices are just so different. And so it was really cool to see. And along with the typewriter, we also had Kit's camera, and then we had the, life size camera. The very same thing. You popped it down, and the lens, like, accordioned out. And so the girls could like look through the viewfinder and see like this is how you were taking a picture back in Kit's time. So, um, I want them to walk out of that room in either event being like, this is so cool. Like I don't know where else I would have been able to do that, right? Because even at the American Girl doll store, like you can see maybe some of the accessories that they have out, but they don't have like those are things that aren't for sale anymore. And so the kids, when they're playing with their dolls, and they don't have the same furniture or accessories as we used to. So being able to share those both in doll form and life size form is really cool. Um, so I hope that like that unique experience is something that they can leave with. And same thing with like seeing all the dolls, all the Disney dolls in person, or all the historic dolls in person. That's quite an experience as an adult, and also as a kiddo. So I don't know. I just think that that's really something I would hope that the kids would be able to pull away through and be like, this was such a cool experience. And then they come home with a little bit of extra knowledge, right? Like maybe the next time they took a picture with their phones, they could think of Kit and her camera. And maybe the story of the full circle of the story of why that camera and the typewriter was really important to Kit, as a 9-year-old girl.
I love that. And I love how you like have the life size stuff too, because now it's like, well, it's actually real, like this isn't something that somebody dreamed about having Kit write on a typewriter. Like it's real. Like here it is, like in real life.
Exactly. And it brings her story closer to that real life idea, right? Like, when you think about the kids now, that like their grandparents, maybe their great grandparents were experiencing the Great Depression. So that history has been, kind of softened by age. And so when we look back on it, it kind of almost feels so distant, that it's almost not real, right? Or you just like you learn about it. Okay, the Great Depression, everybody was poor and there was dust everywhere, and then you can come up with this story and this experience that brings the kids closer to understanding a little bit more about what life might have been like back in those times. That's really important for me to kind of have that connection piece of like this is life size stuff, this is doll size stuff, and like we can kind of weave it together.
Yeah, I just love that, Ashley. Oh my goodness.
I'm a
What
bit
if
of a reader and a history junkie, and I
I
know that
love that.
both of those things can be challenging for kids, right? Literacy can be
Yeah.
challenging for kids. Reading books is hard. Um and and maybe not cool, and of course history. I mean, I did not like history, in high school, and in junior high it was boring and like what the heck? It wasn't until I was older that I really appreciated it. And so it's nice to be able to give the kids a different pathway of experiencing both of those things.
Yeah. I know, like, when I was growing up, like, I struggled with reading. Like, when I got into American Girls, it was really hard for me to read the American Girl books because I just struggled with it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I'm dyslexic, so I had to have
yeah,
them read to me. I still to this day listen to them on an audiobook because it's a challenge for me to read. And it's I want kids to feel like they can still overcome and have resources and tap into something that in a different way that they might be presented in maybe in school, the traditional school.
yeah. I will say, like, when we did get to learn about history growing up in school, like, I got really excited because I was like, "Oh, this is my American Girl doll. Like, she's from this time period."
Yes,
Like, just made me
I
so excited.
also like they can take what they've learned through the series and their collections and the books and really translate that into like their day-to-day schooling and get excited about it, which is funny because I am teaching an elective this year for a homeschool co-op and it is American Girl history. And so I'm actually teaching. It's going to be an elective, so it's definitely going to not necessarily be like history, but it's going to really tie into some of the curriculum that they're doing in their history courses, and then just like tying it right into American Girl. And so I cannot wait for that. That's going to be next fall. They're going to tie all of those important historic moments that they're learning about in history class to American Girl and that perspective. And I think these books are such tools, and I think that's what Pleasant really was trying to accomplish and has accomplished time and time again, is that she had this idea of like teaching history in a different way, getting kids excited about learning and reading and really that using their imagination as kids to really like spark that.
What advice would you give someone who wants to host their own doll meetup or events?
My goodness. So I have gotten a lot of these questions, especially since I started posting about like library events and my own private events. And they always, a lot of people assume that like I'm a children's librarian, which I'm not, right? Like and like how to get started. And honestly, I was just like, I just was like, this is something I would like to have done as a kid, so maybe I can provide that for my daughters, and the fact that they didn't have it, and I was like, "Well, maybe I could do it." So just kind of, like, go with your heart, right? If you feel like you would have the ability to host a book club, because book clubs are so they can be easy, right? The expectation of maybe this is my own thing because I put a lot of expectations on myself about how I want these parties and the events to look like, but they don't have to be, you know, designed to the nines. You don't have to have a full collection to do a book club. The kids just want to read and talk about dolls and, you know, and that's it. It's so simple, right? And the experience can come later. So my advice is that if you feel like your community is missing, maybe an American Girl club, like and then you have the time and energy that you would want to put into to starting it, the library or community center can absolutely assist you in all of that. Like I wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't the library saying yes, right? Like it wouldn't have happened. Not in the way that it has. I mean, I could have put it on the side, but the library is a great place to start for community outreach. And when it comes to doll events, like with adults or just like older kiddos and more relaxed, I've not really hosted one. I'm part of the committee for the Saline, Michigan show for our kind of like convention, and we've done one convention so far. And that takes, of course, a lot of planning because that's a much larger scale. But if you know people in your community that are doll collectors, or um, it's hard when you don't have the American Girl doll store anymore to kind of like have that centerpiece. But I know there are many different regional groups that get together a couple of times a year, and they really, just have a meetup. They do, lunch together, or they meet up at a park and they do a couple of fun games and just get connected and just talking. It really doesn't take a lot because once you get a group of us together and we want to chat about our dogs and our experiences, like it becomes really easy to do. It's really important to be able to have your hobby and be able to share it with others and kind of like celebrate that uniqueness of of you because we're collecting for a reason, and it's nice to be able to share that with others.
We have reached the end of this episode, everyone. I am so sad. Ashley, you were such like a blast to have on. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's awesome. I am so thankful that you've asked me. This was a great time. Yeah, it was a great time.
Y'all, you are going to have to go check out Ashley if you haven't done so already. She is at Ashley Loves AG. She is on Instagram and Facebook. Her events are exclusively posted on Facebook, and that's the same username at Ashley Loves AG. She has a couple fun events coming up. She has her summer camp and then her Josefina cooking class. You guys are going to want to go check it out, especially if you live close to her. What are you doing with your life? You need to come to these events because as an outsider, they look so much fun. I really wish I lived closer. My name is Mal. I am at Dollies and Rainbows on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere, really. But you should also go check out my doll theme podcast, which is what you're currently listening to right now, at Doll Mom Podcast on Instagram, Threads, TikTok. We're on Facebook. Go give us a follow and a like if you haven't done so already. And I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.